So you had mentioned maybe 15, 20 minutes ago about a little bit of the background with Dave and his brother Mark vis-a-vis John DuPont at Foxcatcher, and Mark obviously had some doubts about John as a person.
Yeah, John was acting a little weird, as he always did. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been in instances where I'd be in his house, his mansion, and I'd be in his awards room, and he'd say, "Hey, come over for pizza." So I come over to have dinner with him. He was going to order pizza, and he'd walk through the awards room, and he had like white powder on his nose, and he was sniffing his nose and doing this and trying to, get rid of the cocaine, and then he would leave the room, and then he'd come back. He had a gun.
He'd just have a gun.
Yeah, and he's like, "Kurt, you need to leave." I'm like, "Okay, what's going on?" He said, "You just need to leave." And he took the other guy that was there. His name was Rob Calabrese, and he said, "We need to go downstairs." He always thought somebody was after him. So he thought people were spying on him all the time.
Intense paranoia.
Yes. So he goes down to the basement, and they find a tunnel from the Civil War that where they were able to, I don't know if it was getting the slaves through or the soldiers, but it went from the mansion to another home, about 500 yards. And they went down there, and John DuPont had the gun loaded. And he told Rob, the person he was with, get in the tunnel. And the tunnel was only 4 feet high. So you had to bend over to get in it. You had to bend over to get in the tunnel. And John was behind Rob, and he points a gun at Rob's ass. And they're walking through the tunnel 500 feet, and Rob's praying to God that the gun doesn't go off. So it was just crazy hearing stories like this that John would do. And we were all a little bit guilty of knowing that John was kind of losing it. The problem was we didn't want the money train to end. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. There were instances where we were like, okay, there's something going on here. This guy needs some kind of help. And everybody was just like, let's hold off till the Olympics. Let's just get to the Olympics. And we were almost there, so everybody was going to kind of go their own separate ways after the 96 Olympics.
What about Dave?
Dave was
he a
too.
part of those
Dave wanted to stay. The only person that John would listen to was Dave. So Dave was the one that really brought John down to reality and would keep him in check. And so that's probably why John killed Dave, is because Dave was the one that he respected the most. And I think that there was something there between those two that, I don't know what it was, but for some reason, John just one day decided to go out and shoot Dave.
When you first met John, I think you were talking about like when he pointed at the trophy case or whatever, like that day. Did you sense it right away? Like, this guy's off?
You could tell he was off, yeah. But he was very eccentric, and he was also pretty smart. So you didn't know if he was crazy or just putting on a show. I mean, put it this way. I remember one time he had the world governing body, the guy that was the head of FILA for the world governing body of wrestling. He was the president of the whole world of wrestling. And he had him as a guest at his farm. And he was in the training facilities. And John comes in and tells him, "Hey, come with me." And they leave and they go outside and they get into John's car. And when the guy got into John's car, John opened the back door and said, "Get in, welcome to Balkan Airlines." And the guy was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, get on the plane," is what he said. And the guy gets in, he closes the door, he puts a chauffeur hat on, and he drives his car down this hill on his farm. And you have to got to do like a hard left to stay on the road.
Yeah.
Because there's a lake right in front of where if you go straight, you're going to go right in the lake.
Right.
He went down, floored the car, and went right in the lake. He thought he was taking off on an airplane. And so this guy comes back to the facility. He's soaking wet because John had to save him. John had to get him out of the car. So he comes back soaking wet. The guy's motherfucking everybody. He's really pissed off. And it was like, holy shit, John, why'd you do that? I don't know. So was he doing crazy stuff? Yeah, he was. And unfortunately, we probably stayed around a little bit too long. And it sucks because, it cost Dave his life.
Yeah, so I you said it was like 6 months before the Olympics.
Yes.
So this is the beginning of '96.
This was January of '96.
So essentially one day, and if people haven't seen
Foxcatcher,
the movie
great movie,
Foxcatcher, would you say Steve Carell did a pretty
He nailed it. So did Mark Ruffalo? Even
Ruffalo?
Channing Ruffalo. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Mark Ruffalo. He did an incredible job. He reminded me of Dave so much. His mannerisms, but they nailed that movie.
Yeah.
The only thing that didn't happen was they kind of made it look like Mark Schultz and John DuPont were kind of like, close, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And, like John dyed his hair blonde. Mark, he never did that. That was all, I think it was just a Hollywooded up.
Well, they got to do something.
Yeah, they probably wanted to add another storyline to it, but that wasn't the case. That was just stupid.
My understanding is that the way that they showed the ultimate scene was pretty spot on. With what he did.
From what I heard, yes.
It's probably that scene with Steve Carell in Foxcatcher is probably one of the more chilling scenes I've ever watched because it almost the way who directed that movie? Do we remember that?
Oh gosh,
Can we look that up, Alessi? Foxcatcher movie director. I want to give a shout out here because it was so well done. But okay, Bennett. So the director was Bennett Miller. The way that he filmed that scene before Steve decides, or John in the movie decides to get in the car, it's almost like the Fredo Corleone thing,
right?
Where he's far shot, laying back, just dead, dead to the world in the chair like this. I was getting hard, John Cazale vibes, and then he gets in the car, drives across the estate to where Mark has a home.
Yeah.
Mark, or not
Dave.
Mark, Dave, I'm sorry, where Dave has a home. Dave greets him in his driveway, and John just rolls down the window and shoots him in front of his family, and then shoots him in the back, and then drives off like nothing happened.
Yep, he shot him, and he got outside the car. Nancy heard the gunshot, and she ran out.
Dave's wife.
Yeah, and she's like, I'm going to call the cops. And John looked at Dave and shot him in the back while he was laying on the ground. Then he got in his car and went back to his house. And I think John, in his own crazy mind, thought that he was safe in his house. He literally told the cops, "Can I just stay here for my sentence?" I mean, he was so out of it.
He's a sick guy.
Yeah, he really was. And you know what? He was probably that way before we even knew him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
might have been a little DuPont inbreeding going on there. You never know.
Well, that's the there are rumors going around that could have been possible.
Yeah. He was off for sure.
Yeah.
But do you remember where you were when that happened?
I was actually training at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. I called Dave that afternoon about the time he was getting killed. I called him to tell him I'm coming out tomorrow, so I'll be there. Be ready for me. And then I got done wrestling at wrestling practice at Duquesne, and I was watching the news, and I looked on CNN, and it said Dave Schultz was just shot and killed by John DuPont. And I was like, holy shit. This is world news. I just called Dave this afternoon, and here he's gone. So it was like, what happened? And then I thought, I guess I do know what happened. John cracked. I mean, it wasn't a surprise. I just was hoping it wouldn't happen until we were gone.
It's crazy how in the build up to something like that, it's as you described it, you guys, the attitude's almost like, all right, let's make it to 96.
Yeah.
But in the back of your mind, subconsciously, this guy could do something, not necessarily to Dave, but to anybody. Yeah. And then he did.
Yes, he did. And we were wrong, We should have left.
And you lose one of your best friends and your mentor in this, and you're 6 months ahead of trying to live out your dream.
Yeah.
Where are you? What was the schedule at this point? Had you done the Olympic trials yet to make it?
No.
You hadn't.
That came 2 months later.
2 months later.
Yeah. Okay. So I was without Dave for the rest of my career, the next 6 months, but. Yeah. Especially for those crucial 2 months, Thing is, Foxcatcher was still paying the athletes. And what they did is their attorney wanted to make it look like the wrestlers were taking advantage of John. So they were trying to keep all the athletes on payroll. And we all got paid. So it wasn't a lot of money, but we all got paid. But I called Foxcatcher, and I told them I don't want the blood money. I quit. And they were like, "Are you sure? Because we'll pay you all the way up until the Olympics." And I said, "No, I don't want it."
Yeah.
And Nancy Schultz heard that I quit. And she called me and said, listen, I'm starting a Dave Schultz Wrestling Club. I want you to be our first member. And I start crying. I was like, wow, this is a huge honor.
How soon after his death is that?
A week and a half, 2 weeks, really quick.
Right away.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy? She had sponsors stepping up.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like
Yeah.
they were like, let's do this.
Yeah, the guy was a hero.
Yeah, so they funded that wrestling club, Dave Schultz Wrestling Club, for years.
So that's essentially this is what similar to what you were talking about earlier is the ambassador to the wrestling team now in the U.S.
Right.
They're trying to accomplish the same thing where you can fund the wrestlers so
Yes,
guys
like
like you are
Foxcatcher
training.
did. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I only got $1,000 a month, but it was enough for me to make
Enough
ends
to live.
meet. Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah. So, and that's what I'm trying to do for USA Wrestling today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're the first wrestler that joined that, and I would imagine I don't know the story exactly, but a bunch of wrestlers joined her behind you.
Oh yeah, they followed suit. Yes.
That's
and then
great.
she was able to keep the club alive for about 10 years, but then she had to fold because there was no money left. She wasn't getting the sponsors anymore. They kind of, hiked. They took a hike and left and, said, okay, we're good.
That's kind of the sad thing, though.
Yeah, it is sad, but you know what? They're businesses, and I know they have to
I get
survive.
that.
And they did their. I guess they felt they did their duty by keeping it alive for 10 years, and they did. I mean, I give them credit for it.
Yeah, that's the thing, though. You have someone who was arguably like the biggest legend in the history of the sport, though, and he dies tragically young. It's this international story.
Yeah.
And yet it just goes to show you, and I hear you, like obviously they helped out for like 10 years and stuff, but like,
Right.
You die at some point, no matter what you did at some point, like even the gravity of your legacy, like the good things that are supposed to come with that, people forget, man.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
But that's cool that Nancy did that. I mean, like right after her husband dies too. Like that's
She was such a rock. She was doing the media and at the funeral she kept her composure. They were so in love. I mean, those two were the greatest couple I've ever known. They were both very, very identical. They were both beach bums from California, and they were like, dude, we're cool, dude. Just like
living in
free
Newtown
spirits.
Square.
Yeah, I know, really. And that's like the opposite. Yeah,
Yeah.
living in Newtown Square as compared to California. But Dave always wanted to go back to California, and I think he was waiting till that 1996 Olympics was over, and he was going to make his move.
Yeah.
But it just, John DuPont killed him 6 months early.
Obviously, after this happened, you talked to Mark as well. And
Yeah, I still talk to him today.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
But I mean, because he knew he was off and he left. I mean,
Yes,
that's gotta.
yes.
I can't as like the guy's brother. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
Mark didn't say this, but he should have said, "I told you so, Dave." I mean, he couldn't because Dave was dead. But I mean, it's really, Mark warned Dave. So listen, the guy's not all there. And Dave thought, you know what? I met him. I think I could control him, and he was able to control John for a while. Dave was the only one that John would listen to. And I believe that's when John cracked, Dave was the first one that he wanted to kill because that was the guy he respected the most.
Yeah.
And I think he was jealous of Dave's success and jealous that everybody loved Dave. And Dave was the guy that everybody was drawn to.
Yes.
And so was John. I think John wanted to take that away from Dave.
Yeah. It always comes back to the same things, pride, things like that, even when people are deranged. But anyway, so you join the new Dave Schultz Wrestling Club, and you said 2 months later you go into trials for the Olympics. So at the time, how did that work? How many rounds were you looking at? Like, how would you qualify to be the guy?
The first round is the U.S. Open. You have to place in the top 6 there to qualify for the second round.
Okay.
So I went to the U.S. Open that year, and I was having a great tournament. I wrestled. I went to the semifinals. I was winning in the semifinals, and I got thrown on my head, and I broke my neck. That's when I broke my neck, the first round of the Olympic trials. So my neck was in excruciating pain.
Did you know you broke it when you got flipped?
No, but I knew something was wrong because my neck was killing me. My arms were totally numb. Couldn't feel my arms.
How do you wrestle like that?
I don't know. I don't know.
I blacked out, man.
Yeah. And I couldn't feel my arms, my hands, my arms, nothing. So I ended up going behind. The guy was ahead of me now, 3-2. And I had to come up with a couple points to win that match. And I did eventually. I won 4-3.
With a broken neck.
Yes, with my neck broken. And then the tough part was waiting 8 hours. And then I had to wrestle in the finals.
Now, did you get a diagnosis between them?
Okay, I went to see a chiropractor. He started cracking my neck and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Stop. I was like, stop, you're killing me. I was having sharp pains in my neck going down my spine. I was like, this isn't working. Don't do that anymore. So
did you go to a doctor? I went to a chiropractor. No story ever ended.
The worst mistake I could have made.
Never ended well like that.
So I was like, okay, I'm okay. Don't do that anymore. So he's like, well, we need to ice it. So obviously, we iced it. But 8 hours later, I had to wrestle in the finals. And I was thinking, okay, the thing is, I want to explain something. When you win the Nationals, the U.S. Open, you automatically go to the finals of the trials.
Of the Olympic trials.
Yes. So if you take second in the Nationals down to sixth, you go into a mini tournament. And the winner of that mini tournament wrestles the U.S. champion to make the Olympic team.
How many rounds is the mini tournament?
There's a tournament the day before you wrestle the winner of the U.S. Open. So you have the U.S. Open. The top 6 go to the final trials.
Right.
Number 2 to 6 wrestle in a mini tournament to wrestle the top guy that won the U.S. Open.
Wow, so it's almost like you earn your right to a bye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if I would have forfeited that match in the U.S. Open finals, I would have had to wrestle in the mini tournament, and I would have got my neck crushed. Yeah. Like I would have had to go through 3 guys just to wrestle to the guy in the finals. So I was thinking about forfeiting my match because my neck was killing me. So I was like, you know what? I'll take second. I'll wrestle in the mini tournament. If I win the mini tournament, I'll go on and wrestle the U.S. Open champion, and hopefully I'll win the Olympics. My brothers were like, what the fuck are you thinking? Your neck is fucked up right now, and you don't even know what's wrong with it. You better wrestle in this finals and try to win. So you have a bye to the finals and the final trials. Yeah. So if they weren't there, I would have forfeited. But my brothers, they were always there. They were always fucking crazy. Like they would come up to me and they could see I had doubt on my face. They could tell I was like nervous, like I wasn't thinking straight. I was like doubting myself. They start slapping me in the face. Come on, like wake the fuck up. It was so intense. And I always knew when my brothers came around, they were gonna be like that.
Apparently.
So they fired me up and they got me ready to wrestle in that match. So I ended up winning the finals.
Who was it against?
Kerry McCoy, 2-time Olympian from Penn State, one of the greatest Olympic or U.S. wrestlers of all time. I couldn't do anything, so I basically was underhooking him and trying to keep him from scoring on me. And I was trying to push him around the mat to make me look like the aggressor because I couldn't take shots because my neck was killing me. My arms were numb. So the match was 0-0, 0-0 in overtime, referee's decision. I won the match by referee's decision. It was that close.
Like a Floyd Mayweather type.
Yes. Yeah. Thank God I ended up in the finals of the trials. So now I had to go home and let my neck rest and heal. I went home the next day and I went to the doctor and he said, listen, you have 4 broken vertebrae.
4?
Yeah. He said, you have 2 discs sticking directly in your spinal cord and your spinal cord is bruised badly. He said, that bruising will never go away. He said, you're fucked. You're done. You can't wrestle anymore. And I was devastated.
Oh, period.
Yes. So I was like, I'm going to get a second opinion. So I went to another doctor.
You went to a chiropractor?
Yeah, you know what? He would have passed me to wrestle, definitely. But no, I went to another doctor, and this doctor basically said the same thing, but he also said, when's the next round of the Olympic trials? I said, 6 weeks. He said, you know what? I might be able to get you ready by then. I said, well, what's your, how are you going to get me ready? He said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick you with 12 different shots of Novocaine all throughout your neck, 5 minutes before each one of your matches. Therefore, you won't feel the pain. You'll forget your neck is broken and you'll wrestle more freely. But he said, I'm warning you, an hour after your matches are over, the Novocaine's going to wear off and you're going to be in excruciating pain from the abuse your neck takes during
if it's
matches.
still there.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, let's do it. And it worked. It worked. And I ended up, and the crazy thing is, I I went to the trials that way. My neck still wasn't healed entirely. My neck was still broken. And it was still broken when I wrestled in the Olympics because I was still, wrestling those matches where I wrestled best out of 3 for the finals of the trials. That guy knew my neck was broken.
Yeah.
So he was cranking on my neck, trying to injure my neck even further. And my neck took a toll by doing that. So I kind of re-broke my neck there. And so then I had to take like a whole month off where I couldn't train at all. And then I started training very slowly. Like I joined the Olympic team in Atlanta, around that area where we were training for the Olympics. And but I joined them late because I had to let my neck rest and heal for a while.
What month was the final trial again?
The final trials was in June. The Olympics was in July.
Okay, so you join. So you do the final trial. You basically take a month off. You join like literally right before the Olympics. Then.
Yes.
Okay. Now, did you get? I'm sorry if I missed this in there, but after you do the trial in June and you somehow win with the Novocaine and everything, do you go to a doctor again and get the opinion?
Yeah, and what happened was my neck didn't get any better.
Yeah, no kidding.
It was basically rebroken. The breaks were still there. So he said, "Listen, we're gonna have to rest. You're gonna have to just." All you have to you can do a little bit of lightweight training for lifting, and you can do your conditioning, but you can't wrestle.
Okay, so
you
now
have to take a break for a while.
Now I got the timeline down at least. I was just trying to get it right in my head. Yeah. So you're in the build up to what's going to be the biggest, tournament of your life. Yeah. You aren't really able to train.
No.
Are you just like sitting on the couch every day with icing? I can't picture you sitting still.
No, you know what? I was doing stim machine for my neck. I was doing neck stretches really nice and light and easy because I didn't want to do any detriment or any harm to my neck. So you know what? I was doing some conditioning where I was doing sprint work and long distance running.
You were doing
because it
sprints.
didn't affect my neck.
Oh yeah. Not at all.
But I was still able to do some training where I couldn't do bench press because I couldn't post my head against the mat. So I had to do like a machine press, where I was
you're still
I was still
right,
I was
so
still
you didn't
lifting.
Take off. He's like, yeah, I took off for a month. He's fucking.
I had to do something.
Yeah,
I had to do
something
to keep my body in shape.
Yeah, something that all of us would think is like sociopath mode.
Hey, I didn't have a choice.
Clearly,
Yeah.
you told yourself that. But you can we pull up a picture of Kurt again back at the Olympics? Because also you were built like a.
I didn't have a neck. Yeah.
So where does the neck even begin for you?
Well, you know that my doctor said. That's what he said. He said, "Kurt, your neck's not broken because you have to have a neck." That's what he said to me.
Look at this. Yeah, it's like your head blends right into your shoulders. So that, scientifically, I'm no physicist, but I feel like that's got to help.
Oh, definitely. That definitely helped me. Actually, I would probably be dead if I didn't have the neck I had because the way I landed on my head, that could have killed me. I did real long-term damage to this day to my spinal cord.
Yeah, they showed that. I remember in your documentary where the actual moment where you got flipped on there and land on your head. I can't even watch it. Yeah. I'm one of those guys, like when someone gets injured in the NFL, I turn my head. I'm like,
oh man, when I hit and I came up, I was like, oh shit, something's going on.
Can't feel my arms.
Yeah.
Put me back in, ref. Let's go. You got to be built different to do that. So you arrive right before the Olympics start. And again, you really were training for a month, but just not Kurt Angle training.
Right. No wrestling.
Okay. No wrestling. So before you hopped on the mat for the first match, did you at least get a day warm up in there where you did wrestle?
Yes. Okay. I still wrestled for about 2 weeks, very lightly. I did a lot more drilling than I did wrestling.
Lightly.
Drilling, where you don't wrestle live, you just practice moves.
Okay.
So I was shooting high crotches, single legs, double legs, taking a person down, doing gut wrenches to turn them, just going through the drills. And I did a little bit of live wrestling, but I didn't want to do too much because I knew that it would be detrimental to my neck.
Now, like you said, everyone who's going to be coming up against you knows your neck's fucked up.
Yes.
Did they know it was
unfortunately. Broken? Yes. What happened was, I don't know why the coach did this, but I called the USA wrestling coach. And I told him, I said, listen, I know that in the past, you've postponed matches for the Olympic trials because of injury. I said, I have a broken neck. I can't wrestle at the next trials. Is there any way I can get a postponement? Because after I won the U.S. Open, I was in the finals of the Olympic trials. So I was there already. So I called the USA wrestling coach and I said, can I extend that another month? You know, whoever wins the mini tournament, can we do it a month later? Because I'm going to have to, my neck, I'm going to have to let it heal. And he's like, no, you're going to have to wrestle with your neck broken. I was like, well, you did it in the past. You did it for a wrestler named Randy Lewis. And he ended up, so he was injured. They extended it a couple months. And they wouldn't do it for me. But that's how everybody found out about my broken neck. Because I told the USA wrestling coach. And he probably told other coaches. Well, he told other coaches, and then other coaches told other coaches, and then wrestlers told wrestlers, and then the word got out that
we need some wrestling omerta, man. I don't like this. There's way too much information being shared here.
Yeah. So everybody knew. My opponents for the final trials, when I wrestled Dan Che, best out of 3, he tried to mess my neck up by cranking my neck and doing all that stuff.
That was the guy doing it.
Yes. So I went to the Olympics and I had a couple guys there try it too at the beginning.
That's kind of.
You know what? It worked to my advantage because they were so worried about my neck that they were reaching. I was attacking their legs. So it actually worked to my advantage. I mean, I don't know if I would have won, to be honest with you.
Without the broken neck.
Yeah, because without. No, I could have won healthy, but knowing my neck was broken, knowing those guys were so focused on my neck, it left them open. And it just made it easier for me to win.
Did you watch a lot of tape of them too ahead of time?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So you're studying what they do and
they're studying what I do.
And do you think, because obviously you've never wrestled them before with a broken neck at that point, right? Maybe you wrestled them before in other competitions without a broken neck, but could you, when you were watching the tape, could you kind of translate on what they would do under the assumption that they would be trying to fuck with your neck and therefore what you could do to counter that?
Yeah, and the problem is this guy that I was going to wrestle, he was probably the worst opponent for me to wrestle because he liked to do a lot of front headlocks. And that's when if your head was down, and I had your head locked this way, where your head's here and your body is here.
It's great for the neck.
Yeah, right. So he had a lot of technique there where he cranked the neck. And I knew that I couldn't get my neck down there and get it vulnerable. So I knew that my shots had to be specific when I take a shot because he would sprawl and put a front headlock on me. Then he would do moves where he would turn, get my jaw and twist my head to the side and be able to expose my back to the mat. And that's points for him.
Yeah.
So I knew that he was really capable of doing that. So I didn't want to put myself in that position. So it was very difficult for me to want to attack him because I knew if I attacked, I was going to pay the price.
Yeah.
But he was worried about my neck. So he was reaching and I was, he left himself open. I had to attack his legs. So
shimmy and shake.
It worked extremely well for me. And that's why I say with the broken neck, I don't know if I would have beaten him if he wasn't trying to hurt my neck.
Yeah, it could have been different. It's so strange how that works out.
It is.
And you don't have your coach, obviously, because Dave was killed. Is there anyone helping you out?
Oh, yeah. We had other coaches. Greg Strobel was another coach. Bruce Burnett was the USA coach.
Okay.
Dave was just my personal coach.
Yeah. All right. So when you get the broken neck diagnosis, do you tell your mom and your brothers about that?
Well, I didn't find out till the day after the U.S. Open. I went home, and the doctor took an MRI of my neck, and that's when he told me, your neck's broken. And I had to go home and tell my family. And, what's crazy is my mom started crying. That gold medal meant just as much to her as it did to me. And she knew that if my dreams were crushed, then it would hurt me dramatically. So,
but did she want to? I mean, you have a broken neck. You are her kid. Was she trying to say this ain't the time? Or?
Well, what's crazy is my mom's the one that said, "Why don't you get a second opinion?" So my mom's the crazy one.
No son of mine's a pussy.
Why don't you get a second opinion? I'm like, That's a good idea, Mom. So I went to Dr. Maroon, who is one of the best surgeons of all in Pittsburgh in history. He works with the Steelers and Pitt University, and he's done a lot of. He's actually frontiered a new neck surgery that I think he does the disc replacement where you take out your old disc and put the new ones in, and so he was always ahead of his time, and he's the one that came up with the old-fashioned "let's just shoot your neck up with Novocaine." And
He's
you know
come
what?
a
He
long
was
way
right.
since then.
Yeah, definitely. But I thought, man, that is a little savage, but it worked.
Yeah.
It actually worked. I mean, the thing is, you try that today, no doctor will clear you because they know they're going to get sued.
Yeah.
You know, back in 95, 96, there weren't
Ice up, son.
there weren't a lot of lawsuits, you know. People weren't suing other people. So he was like, you know what, I'll clear you. We'll stick you in the neck with Novocaine. We'll get you ready. So that was it. That was the plan.
And how many matches did you have to do start to finish in the Olympics?
5, and I had to do my 2 best out of 3 matches at the Olympic trials finals. So 7 total with my neck broken, where I had shots of Novocaine.
Yeah. But on to the Olympics. So obviously you're going up against the best in the world here.
Yeah.
Some of these guys, had you wrestled a couple of them before in other events?
Yes, I wrestled the guy. I wrestled in the semifinals. I did wrestle him.
Is that the Russian?
Yeah, I wrestled 2 Russians, one in the 3rd round and the 4th round.
Okay.
But let me see. I wrestled a Mongolian, never wrestled him before. Wrestled a Cuban, never wrestled him. He was 7 foot tall. He was a son of a bitch.
7 foot tall.
7 foot tall, man. He had so much leverage.
Match, so you didn't get that height.
That match was 2-0. It was really close. Overtime, double overtime It was a scary match, but that guy was one of the hardest people for me to wrestle.
And he was another one trying to break your neck?
Yes, he was. He was all over my head, all over my neck. And then I had a Russian the 3rd round, and then another Russian the 4th round, and then I had Abashadidi, who was from Iran, in the finals. So the only wrestler that I wrestled before the Olympics, was the 4th guy I wrestled, the Russian. Yeah.
How did you feel? Like, you're getting Novocained up before all these.
Well, you know what? I wanted to tell you something. This is actually pretty funny. But the Russian I wrestled, okay, he was a real stud. Okay, he beat my ass like 2 years prior. And I'll be honest with you, till 95, I was 0-11 against Russians. I couldn't beat a Russian. So my mentality.
Well, they're Russians now. They were Soviets.
Right. So my mentality was, I'll just take 2nd place. I'll just lose to the Russian. That was my mentality going into the Olympic Games. Or no, going into the World Championships in 95. I was like, you know what? If I wrestle a Russian, I'll lose to him, but at least I'll beat everybody else. That was my mentality.
We don't lose to Russians in America,
But I beat the Russian in the 95 Worlds. And that gave me the confidence to go on to the next Olympics and not worry about not ever beating a Russian. I actually beat one. So it just took me a long time to do it. But I ended up wrestling this guy in the semifinals of the Olympics. He beat my ass 2 years prior, and he looked like Homer Simpson. Okay.
Oh, no. Can we
he
pull
was
this guy
5'8".
What was his name?
He was big stomach, just frumpy. Constantine, I think. Constantine.
All right. Constantine, wrestler, 96 Olympics, Russia. This isn't the one who defected to Germany, is it?
No, that's Aravat Sabiv.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's pull this guy up. Just see what he looked like. Homer Simpson.
Yes, he did.
I'm trying to picture this.
My brother gave him that nickname.
You got all those Pittsburgh guys up in the crowd. You look like fucking Homer.
And he was a bitch to beat too, man. I had a hard time with him.
All right. Any of these look familiar?
1990s.
Yeah, 1990s. The second one?
No, those are pro wrestlers.
Type in Russia. Russian Olympic
Let me see.
wrestler. 96.
You know what? Put Kazakhstan.
This guy?
No, that's the Greco guy, the badass that dominated for 12 years. Karelin. That's right. Alexander Karelin.
Take out Russian and instead of 1990s to 1996. What is that? Kazakhstan?
Kazakhstan.
I don't think we know how to spell that. All right. Let's see.
Maybe this guy?
No, that's an NJ. Damn it. I really want to see what this guy looks like.
Summer Olympics right there. Let me see.
The head right there. It just
Do 1996. Yeah. Wrestling at the 1996 Summer Olympics. Hit that article.
These are the names right here. In the
Oh, shit. Yeah. Constantine. Well, what was his last name?
This guy,
do you remember?
Right? Romanian freestyle?
No, he's not from Romania.
Go up to the article, Alessi. Go all the way up. Yeah, hit wrestling at the 1996 Summer Olympics.
This thing?
No. Right there. Yeah. Perfect. All right, so let's see. So go down. Let's see where we see Kurt. What would you be under, Kurt? Sorry, there's a lot going on here.
Let's see. Number 1, 100 kilos. Why? Is that...
Go up. That's the Greco-Roman. That's why.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Angle, 100 kilos. So type in, go to details. Yeah. Hit that. All right, here we go. Now we got it. So we got Kurt versus
Konstantin Alexandrov. Yes.
All right, let's copy and paste that. Let's see what this guy look like. If he doesn't look like Homer, I'm going to be upset, Kurt. All right, hit images. Is there even a picture of him? That's crazy.
It's got to be this guy.
There he is.
All right, from the side, he kind of does. I see what you mean.
He was a bit frumpy. I wish there was a better picture than that. If you would have seen him, like he walked out and he didn't have that. He was just like, just frumpy, just arms hanging down, looks like a wimp.
Yeah.
But when he gets on the mat, he's an animal.
Strong like bull.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's it. Okay. So he was another one trying to break your neck, unsuccessful.
Yes.
So you're doing the Novocaine. You said like an hour after these matches, though, you just be in searing pain.
Yeah. When the Novocaine wore off, man, it was game time. I was like, holy shit, this is so much pain. I would get like sharp pains going down my neck. I was doing damage to my neck when I was doing this. So my doctor was like, listen, hopefully you won't do too much damage because the result could be paralysis. You could definitely get paralyzed.
Of course.
If you got another blow on your head like you did, you'd definitely be paralyzed. So he was like, I know you have to be careful. I know it's very difficult to do that, but, try not to take too many chances.
Yeah. Now, it was 5 matches, though. How many days in between matches? Like 1?
2 days. Yeah, I wrestled 3 the first day and 2 the second.
Oh, it was 2 days total.
Yes, 2 days total.
Oh, so your recoveries when the Novocaine rolls off is like another 4 hours, and you got to get the hell back in there.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yep, and then they'd stick me with a Novocaine again, and I'd go.
I gotta imagine it's just like crazy adrenaline running through your body because that's a sprint.
Yeah. You know what? After a while, I didn't even think about my neck. Only time I did is an hour after matches were over. I was like, oh, fuck, my neck's killing me. But when I was out there, after I won the trials, I was like, I'm cool. I know I'm not going to feel it. So, when I go in there, in the Olympics, I'm going to do the best I can. And, I'm not going to worry about my neck because I knew that as long as I didn't feel the pain, I wouldn't be reminded that I had a broken neck. And the Novocaine did the job for me.
You're just able to that blows, and I'm sure it blows the mind of almost everyone listening. Like you're just able to mentally separate broken neck from goal.
I had to. I didn't have a choice.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely insane. So the final match is against that big Iranian motherfucker.
Yep, Abajadidi, and that match was an interesting match because it could have gone either way. And I think the reason why they picked me is because I had a takedown at the end where I ended up on top of him, and the referee was about to give me a point, and time ran out. Oh. And so I think that was the crucial move that took me to got me a gold medal. But he was not going down without fighting. Like he went over to the referees to see who they picked because they circled the winner.
Right, knock him out.
And he acted like he won. Yeah, he was like, yes, I won. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, fuck, I lost. So I was thinking another 4 years because I wanted a gold medal. I didn't want a silver. And so I'm all depressed. My head's down. And the referee goes to grab our hands to raise one of the hands. And the Iranian's hand goes up in the air. I was like, shit, I did lose. And then all of a sudden, the ref pushes it down. And he raises my hand. And what happened was the Iranian raised his own hand. So he raised his own hand. Looked like the ref raised it. The ref was like, no, you didn't fucking win. You did. So I was so excited. I hugged the ref. I was like, thank you.
What's that? What does that feel like, though? You're chasing something that, as you outlined earlier, you had dreamed of for years and years and years. You reach the absolute apex of the sport. There's nothing higher than winning the gold medal at the Olympics in wrestling. Like, in that moment, can you even appreciate it, or is it all just a blur?
It's all blur. It's all blur. I wish I could remember a lot of it, but I can't. I was so focused and I was so nervous. Yeah. It's like I don't want to remember some of that stuff because it got so stressful. And you know, I was in a bind all the time. I always had something wrong with me, and you know, things weren't always going the right way, and you know, I had to always focus and make sure that I, you know, didn't make any mistakes, and it wasn't a good experience for me. I wish I would have soaked it in. I did soak in open ceremonies. That was kind of cool. Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story. You're gonna love this. I just walked into the arena, the stadium for the opening ceremonies. And as the USA team's walking in, okay, everybody else is already in there, the whole world, and we were the last because it's alphabetical order. United States of America, the U, is at the end of the alphabet. So I start walking in, and the fans are going nuts. I'm like, I'm fucking important, man. It's all right. Thank you. Yeah, thank you. Because I just walked in, so that was the first person they saw. I was like, thank you. I look behind me, and the fucking dream team's behind me. I put my head down. I started walking. It was hilarious. My God. I was like, oh man, Michael Jordan's behind me.
You gotta soak it in and pretend that it was for you. You just gotta roll with it.
You know what? No, it bummed me out. They don't know me.
That's funny though. But I mean, you gotta think when you do it. Obviously, like you said, it is a blur. But you know, I've seen the video of you like right after being interviewed, and you're like, you know, first you were on your knees, then you get up and you're crying, and you gave the medal to your mom. Yeah. Like you said, that's got to be, in hindsight, even if some of it's like missed in there because there was a lot going on, it's got to be a really special, like maybe one of the most special memories outside of your wedding and your kid's birth.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, it was besides me getting married and having my kids, it was the greatest moment in my life. It really was, because that's what my family strived for. We wanted to be, you know, the best in whatever we did, and that's how I was raised. And for me to be able to go to the ultimate goal to attain and be able to get it, you know, shows that. What my family did, it wasn't for nothing. Yeah. You know, they all represented something to me, and they were always, you know, brother or father figures for me, and they were always there for me. You know, whether they were kicking my ass or supporting me, you know, they were always there for me, and we did it as a unit. You know, even though wrestling's an individual sport, I wouldn't have done it without my team. Oh, sure. And that's my family, and. Yeah. They're the only ones I could trust, and they were always there for me. You know what's crazy? They never missed any of my sporting events. None of them. I raised money. I raised enough money to have my family travel with me overseas and awesome. To the Olympics and to the World Championships and to the U.S. Open and the Olympic trials, and they were always there. And
probably intimidating all the people around them.
Sometimes I didn't want them there because I didn't want them slapping the shit out of me before my match. But you know, I loved having them there, and knowing they were there was my extra strength. You know.
Yeah. You ever seen Nikola Jokic's brothers, the great basketball player from Serbia?
No.
So he's a 7-footer. He's got these two Mongoloid brothers who are his older brothers who like taught him everything and whatever. And they go to like all his games, and they'll like get in fights with the fans and shit. And this whole time you're talking about your brothers, I'm just picturing like the Pittsburgh Mafia rolling up, and people are like, "Out of your way, sir."
That's what it was like. Yeah.
That's so cool. Though.
They were all my size, so like
I
you know, imagine. My brothers were all pretty big dudes. You know.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
But so you get to experience all that with them. And, you know, going into this, was your thought always like one and done? I'll win a gold medal and I want to be done? Or did you have the thought of like, oh, I want to continue and maybe do the next Olympics?
I would have continued if I didn't have such a stressful 2 years. Weighing the worlds, and then after that, going to the Olympics, and then losing Dave, and then breaking my neck, and having to go through all that. I think I would have probably continued on, but I wanted to. I knew that I put myself through an unsurmountable amount of stress, and it was the toughest thing I ever did, was to overcome my neck injury and win the Olympic gold medal. So I knew I was done. I knew that I didn't want to feel any kind of stress anymore. I didn't want to have to put myself in a situation like that again, even though I did in WWE. But I wanted to go on to something else. I knew it wasn't like I wanted to be known as the greatest Olympic wrestler of all time by winning 3 Olympic gold medals. One was good enough for me, and I was on to something else. And I think that's how I've been my whole life is, once I get something accomplished, I want to move on to something else and accomplish something there.
What was the in between winning the Olympics in July '96 and joining? It was WWF at the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
How much time was in between that?
2 years, and the WWE offered me a contract in '96,
and you turned them down.
Yes, it was a multi-million-dollar deal, and I don't know why I turned it down. My agent actually decided for me. He said, "You're not signing this contract. They're fake. You're real." I was like, "Okay," and he said, "Don't worry, I'll get you a job." He got me a job sportscasting, which I was fucking horrible.
I'm thinking you're gonna say like insurance salesman or something. But yeah, so you have you have 2 years there. Where now
got my neck healing.
Yeah, you got your neck healing. That's great. But you also, outside of those 5 months where you kind of like found yourself in 93, 94, like this is the first time in your adult and even like child life where you're not, where you don't have anything to train for and you're not going back to it. And listen, you're in a sport where you're a beast. This, no disrespect, this ain't golf, right? Yeah. Like you're a monster every day, not just when you go in there and wrestle with people, but when you're training. It's a mentality. It becomes a part of you and your identity, as it very clearly did yours. How did you deal with that? Like, was that extremely difficult to be away from that lifestyle?
Yeah, I went into a big depression. I was doing sportscasting for about a year. I felt like I wasn't done being an athlete. I was thinking about going back to the Olympics, but then that thought kind of passed by. And I was like, well, WWE offered me a contract a couple years ago. I'll call them and see if it still stands. So I called the WWE and they said, no, the contract doesn't stand. But you could come up and try out just like everybody else. And I figured nothing in my life's ever come easily. This won't either. I'll go up and work for it. So I went up and tried out. But I picked up on everything so quickly, they offered me a contract after day one.
Wow.
And but the contract was horrible. It was $75,000 a year. And that's including me having to travel. They paid for my airfare, but I had to pay for rental car, hotel, food, tolls.
What is this bullshit?
Yep. So $75,000 didn't go very far when you're married and you're paying a mortgage and you're paying for your on-road expenses.
So you were already married to your wife at this time?
Yes.
Wait, how did you meet her?
This is my first wife. I met her doing like
okay.
Yeah. That was a long time ago. My second wife I married in 2012.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
All right. Now I'm on track with that. I had thought you hadn't met her yet at that point in my head.
Well, I didn't meet my wife now. Yeah,
of course. So the original contract they offer you is not on there. You got to take this way smaller one. You said you picked it up quickly though. Like I think the thing, like I was never a huge WWE guy or anything. Like I'm not going to sit here and act like I was watching all that, right. But you obviously have guys in there who are like the pinnacle athletes. Many of them were like great wrestlers before, right. And I guess the ones who maybe weren't, like they were great at other sports and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, you guys, the whole point is like you're acting and you're faking some things, but in doing these insane acrobatic moves, it's also real because there's insane injuries that occur.
Yeah.
You know, you guys are jumping from fucking 20 feet in the
Doing
sky.
stunts, yeah.
Yeah. So like when you go in there, it's obviously way different than what you had done on a competing basis. But day one, like, were you impressed with the physicality of what these guys did?
Yeah, because what you're doing there is self-mutilation.
Self-mutilation.
Yeah, when you bump, that means you're getting slammed. When someone slams you or clotheslines you and you bump on the ground, you're bumping on plywood. It's like this. So you're going from your feet to your back, quick and bumping, and your head even hits.
It's great for your neck.
Oh, it's horrible. Like I took my first bump and I said, "Fuck this, I quit." I told my manager, "I'm not doing it," and so I left. But he talked me into going back the next day and sticking with it. And so I got through the next day, and it was the hardest thing I ever did as bumping. Because when you start out wrestling, first thing you learn is how to bump properly for safety. So you're bumping 500 times every day. And that takes a toll on your body. I mean, you get the first day I was sore as hell. Like, you know, but what took the soreness away was bumping again because it warms your body up. But I learned very quickly that pro wrestling is basically self-mutilation.
Yeah.
I mean, it is really difficult. If you don't want to put any wear and tear on your body, you know, stay away from wrestling. You know, or pro wrestling. If you want to stay healthy and you don't want any long-term damage done to your body, stay away from pro wrestling because once you do it, you're stuck in it, and it's addictive. Once you get into it, you stay in it as long as you possibly can.
What's addictive about it?
The fans, you know, the money, just doing, you know, performing, you know, for them. It becomes very addictive and. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed all of it. And, you know, it was tough. It was tough on my body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, where medically, when you first go to try out, where's your neck at this point? Is it still officially broken or has
it's healed? It's healed. You know, I only had my pinky finger never came back. This is numb. It's been numb since the 96 Olympics. I can't feel this. I could chop it off. I wouldn't know it. It's really it's that bad. It's always cold, no circulation. I lost all my muscle in my finger. Look, feel your hands. There's muscle there.
Yeah,
There's
quadruple
nothing
jointed.
here,
Some
nothing
weird
there.
shit.
Yeah, so I've atrophied. My arms have atrophied 3 inches each. You know, so my pec, I have a no muscle right here.
I could see that's like off kilter from this one.
Yeah. No. So I've
were you good at the time though? Like when you were first trying out, that was still okay, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I've had a lot of atrophy.
Yeah.
So I'm paying the price for it, but I don't regret it. I had a great career, especially wrestling in WWE. I had a lot of funny moments with the fans, and I was really surprised of how entertaining I could be, knowing that coming from wrestling where you show no emotion.
Yeah.
You know, and I never thought I had a personality to begin with. So, you know, doing what I was able to do in WWE and making an ass out of myself, it was easy for me to do that stuff because I knew I was a badass.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of wrestlers are like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. I'm going to look like an idiot. Well, that's the point. You know, and they're usually the people that never been in a fight or never been in a real competition. So they always have this, you know, idea that they're going to look weak. Yeah. You know, for me, I didn't care. So I was the one that Vince could go to, Vince McMahon, and say, "Hey, have Kurt do this silly shit," you know. And I was game for it.
But you're coming in at a time too, like Stone Cold Steve Austin's in there,
yes.
The Rock is in there.
I beat those two my first 2 world titles. I beat Rock for my first, and I beat Stone Cold for my second.
Now, how does that work too? Because again, like you guys are choreographing a lot of this, right? So it's like you get the result is determined by the company, right?
Right.
Okay, but at the end of the day, like you're putting on a show with insane acrobatics, and you guys train that together ahead of time.
Yeah, you just have to make it look like a fight,
right?
To a certain extent,
right?
Yeah.
But did you like when you were coming in? Did some of those guys like help you out with the entertainer aspect?
Well, nobody helped me with the entertainment aspect, but when I started, they only had me train for 7 months. that's nothing. Like 7 months of training is absolutely nothing in pro wrestling. And Vince McMahon basically said, listen, we're going to start you on TV. You're either going to sink or swim. I mean, he gave me that choice. And so I didn't have a choice but to swim. And it's crazy because, you know, he's telling me, hey, you have a promo tonight. And this is what I want you to say. And he would say it, and he'd be talking for like 8 minutes. And I'd be like, holy fuck, how am I going to remember this? Right?
He wouldn't give you a script?
No. The first night on air, he didn't give me a script. He tested me. And when he said everything, I went, Vince, I'm sorry, but I didn't hear a word you said. He said, I'm going to tell you one more time. You have to go out and do it. And I went out and did about 80% of it. And he was like, I have a good, this guy's going to be somebody.
Did you become the heel right away?
Yeah. Vince, he had this idea of me preaching the 3 I's: intensity, integrity, and intelligence, but not really being that person. Like I was cheating, and you know, so the fans hated me at the beginning. And I told Vince, there's no way fans are going to hate me. I said, I'm an Olympic gold medalist. I'm an American hero. He said, don't worry, we'll get them to hate you. And he was right. He was right. Yeah, preaching the 3 highs and doing the opposite definitely made me a heel.
That's like a strange thing, though, where you're successful by getting people to hate you. Yeah, you're like a great entertainer in that way.
Yep, I made a lot of money doing that.
I bet you did.
Yeah.
So obviously, like you said, you made it quickly. They bring you in. Like when did they say, like, all right, we're gonna up that contract now? Like how long did that take?
Well, I had to prove myself for a year on TV. And I was able to make over $1 million that year, even though my guarantee was $75,000. You can make more money in WWE by being in the main events or, you know, selling merchandise, that kind of stuff. But so I proved myself to Vince, and I said, listen, I want a better guarantee. You know, my contract's up. I made $1 million this year. I'd like to be and the highest guarantee they had at the time was $1 million. Now, don't get me wrong, Stone Cold Steve Austin still made $14 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay, because of merchandise and main eventing every pay-per-view. So you get paid more than your guarantee for that. So I was able to make $1 million my first year. So I got a guaranteed $1 million for the next 5 years. And so I felt good about that. And I was able to make a substantially a much more than the $1 million guarantee, but I had a very successful career, and I was able to entertain fans that I didn't even realize I was going to be able to entertain them. I mean, you know, I did some stuff with Stone Cold Steve Austin where I wear a little mini cowboy hat and made myself look like an idiot, you know, and
it's entertaining.
The fans loved it. Yeah, they loved it. So
you said these guys didn't really help you with the entertainment aspect. That just came to you?
Yeah. You know what? They one thing they did is they showed me how to do an old-fashioned promo where the guy would interview me, and, you know, you just stand there in front of the, you know, WWE symbol, and, you know, he talks back and forth, and that was it. And I was horrible at that. But, you know, when they started me on TV, I would do like a promo where I would walk down the ramp and talk to the fans, you know. So, but I was able to memorize those promos. Crazy thing is, I didn't know how to ad-lib. That is something I had to learn down the road because I was so good at memorizing my lines that they had a joke in the back. Like, they'd be watching me and they'd be reading the script word for word. I'd be saying it word for word. They're like, this is unbelievable.
He'll read whatever's on the teleprompter.
Exactly, yeah. Just like Will Ferrell, yeah. So I didn't know how to improvise until I had to do those skits with Stone Cold and Vince McMahon where we were doing these funny pre-tapes. And Vince would be like, listen, I have this idea. And Stone Cold, I want you to start. Kurt, I want you to chime in. Then I'll chime in. Then we'll naturally just let it end. I was like, wait a minute, Vince, you don't have a script. I was like, holy shit, I don't know how to improvise. He's like, don't worry, you'll get used to it. And you know what? I did. Eventually, I was able to. But that was the toughest thing I ever had to do.
Yeah.
I would think that memorizing the lines would be tougher, but ad-libbing was really tough for me.
In front of fucking 40, 50,000 people, that's not easy.
Yeah,
like, did you study any acting or anything like that?
No.
So you have some sort of natural gene in there.
Well, I'm not a good actor, to be honest with you, but
well, you're hanging in there.
I was able to play my character pretty well.
Yeah, that's that. There's acting to that. You gotta give yourself some credit. But so the contract was like 98. when it started? 98, 99?
Yeah,
like that?
yes, the middle of 98, yes.
All right.
I
So,
started in 99.
but we're going to get to 03 to 06 where you really had some injury problems. But prior to 03, you're doing this, whatever, 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Did you sustain any serious non-neck injuries during that time?
I didn't have any problems with my neck.
But anything else?
No, I was healthy. I didn't have any serious problems. I had a couple hamstring pulls, but nothing real serious until I wrestled Brock Lesnar. And I was on his back. I had him in a chokehold, and I was on his back. And he was in one side of the ring, and he was going to run to the other corner and turn and back me into the turnbuckle. And when he was still running full speed, and he went to turn, and he didn't get turned around completely, that I hit the turnbuckle sideways, and my head snapped really, really fast. And I heard a crack in my neck, and I was like, oh, shit. And my right arm went numb. I couldn't feel it. And I couldn't raise it either. Like, it didn't just go numb. I lost use of it. I was like wrestling with one arm dangling. And so I knew that I'm going to have surgery. I knew right away. So we finished the match. And so listen to this. This is crazy. This is crazy. So we finished the match. I go to the doctor the next day, and he says, listen, you have to have surgery. You broke your neck again. And so I called Vince, and I said, listen, Vince, I know I'm main eventing at WrestleMania, but I'm not going to be able to. I know it's in 2 weeks, but I have to have surgery. What do you want me to do? Because I'm the world champion. How do I drop this title? He said, well, all right, this is what we're going to do. At the next Raw, at our next TV, we're going to have you drop the title to Brock. And I said, well, I can't wrestle. He said, well, I'm just going to have Brock hit his finish move on you. I was like, well, that's a pretty brutal finish move. He's going to pick me up over his head, spin me in the air, and have me bump on the hardwood, on the wood. And so I said, okay, well, let's do it. So we get to the day of the event, and before I went down there, it was in Pittsburgh, actually, ironically. So I was going to drop the title to Brock Lesnar in my hometown. But before I went down, I met my neighbor who has Down syndrome. His name's Johnny Soretti. And he was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? He said, well, I was hoping to see you at WrestleMania because you and Brock are on the cover of this magazine. And it was a cable magazine. And it showed that we were main eventing WrestleMania. And this poor kid was crying because he knew I couldn't wrestle. And I thought, you know what? I don't have to drop the title tonight. I'll just tell Vince I'll wrestle at WrestleMania.
Oh, my God.
So I told Vince, hey, why don't we do something tonight to where I beat Brock, like by cheating and winning. And what we did is we did this thing where I walked down to the ring and I got in the ring. And then I went in the corner and the lights went out. And my brother was underneath the ring. And I rolled out of the ring. He got in the ring. And then he got down in the same stance with his head down, facing the turnbuckle where I was. And Brock came out, and Brock attacked him, thinking it was me. And he hits me with a finish. He goes to cover me, and he looks, and he's like, that's not Kurt. And then I sneak in, I roll up and pin him. So I get a cheap win out of it, and we go on to WrestleMania. So that was my idea to Vince.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. If you haven't already subscribed, please smash that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.